They thought I would break when he cheated on me. They thought I would sink into shame and hide my face. But I am Helena Montez, 35 years old, senior bank executive in a city where fortunes rise and collapse overnight. And my ambition has always been sharper than the sting of betrayal. I remember the exact moment it happened. The sun was still warm against the glass of my office window when my phone lit up with a message I should have never read. A friend. No, my best friend sent me a photo without realizing my husband was in the background, his arm draped around her, lips too close for a lie. At first, my blood burned hot, my fingertips numb against the cold screen. He had betrayed me. She had betrayed me. And yet beneath the shock, like a hidden ember, I felt something else rising, an almost dangerous calm. I knew exactly what I would do. I was already powerful inside those marble walls, presiding over portfolios that could crush or build empires. But in that moment, I decided power was not enough. I would have control. I listened to every word he said when he came home that night, all the ridiculous excuses tumbling out of his mouth like confetti from a cheap parade. I never raised my voice. I never cried. I simply smiled, nodded, and locked the plan in my mind. Over weeks, I set things in motion in silence, shifting investments, redirecting opportunities, building a net he would not see until it closed around his ankles. You see, betrayal is almost always emotional, but revenge, true revenge, is strategic. I learned where his career was weak, where his goodwill was stale, and I took those threads and wove him into my world without letting him know. I got him a role at a smaller firm under my bank's business umbrella, a position he thought was his triumph, his fresh start away from the shadow of his guilt. He even thanked me. My best friend stopped calling, stopped showing her face, but I knew she was still out there, orbiting his life like a moth circling a street lamp. I did not care about them together anymore. My eyes were on a greater victory. Inside my bank, there were acquisitions to be made, positions to shuffle, meetings where names were crossed off as quickly as they were written. I ensured his new employer became dependent on our contracts, our funding, our goodwill. And slowly, almost too slowly for him to notice, I tightened those contracts until every major decision required my approval. The first time he had to walk into my office for my signature, I will never forget his face. He tried to smile, that half-proud grin from years ago, but it cracked halfway when my assistant announced me as Senior Executive Montez and reminded him he was here on behalf of his manager. In that instant, I knew he felt the weight shift. He was working for me, not beside me, not near me, for me. He asked once if I felt awkward, if the tension between us made it harder to keep things professional. I looked right into his eyes and said, not at all. The truth was, I felt nothing at all for him anymore, except the cold satisfaction of justice served at the temperature it deserved. My revenge was not screaming in the night or tearing apart his belongings. It was him waking up every morning knowing his choices had placed him exactly where I wanted him. And it was her, my former best friend, knowing she had sold our trust for a man who no longer had his own power. The sweetest part? My success had nothing to do with them now. I was still building something bigger. If you love Helena's journey, like and subscribe to join her next chapter, because the real lesson in betrayal is not in how much you lose, it is in how much you gain from the ashes. I invested harder, smarter, and in quieter spaces than ever before. I walked through corridors lined with men who underestimated me and felt them step aside when they realized I could remove entire divisions with a single vote. Yet I also knew the cost. Revenge had frozen a part of me. That warm, reckless joy I had once given freely was locked away, replaced with an unshakable discipline. Some nights I wondered if that discipline had made me stronger or simply colder. But every time I saw him bring me documents, every time he tried to avoid my gaze, I remembered the day I first saw that photograph. I remembered how that woman's laughter had once sounded easy in my ears, and how it was now just noise in the distance, irrelevant to the empire I was building. Sometimes justice does not shout. Sometimes it sits quietly behind a desk, signing its name on the fate of the people who once thought they could break you. My life is not softer now, but it is mine, fully mine. And when I walk onto the trading floor and the air vibrates with tension and ambition, I know I am where I belong, not because anyone gave me this power, but because I took it, piece by piece, even when my heart was bleeding. And that is why, when I say I have no regrets, I mean it. I am Helena Montez, Senior Bank Executive, master of my own fortune and architect of my own justice. And the next person who thinks my trust is theirs to play with will find themselves exactly where they belong, answering to me. For more of my story, follow, subscribe, and do not miss what comes next. I promise, you have not heard the last of me yet.